Well, we are glad that you are tuning in to Rainer on Leadership. We certainly appreciate all of you listeners. And now that we're doing 2 episodes a week, we've been having a lot of fun, getting a lot of feedback from all of you. Today, we're going to be talking about mobility rates, which doesn't sound exciting, except for the fact that it is, and there is a ton of implications for your church. More on that in just a moment. But Dad, did you know that millennials move less than Gen X and less than baby boomers?
I am. I'm just sorry that they're not called the Bridgers.
You know, you probably should have won out with what you had called my generation. You were among the first to name the generation. It just didn't stick, unfortunately.
I named also Gen X the Busters, and it didn't stick.
I think Gen X is probably better than Busters, but I'll make the argument that Bridger is better than Millennial.
Bridging a century and bridging a millennium.
I liked it. Unfortunately for you, it ended up being Millennials.
The world's not listening to me. What am I supposed to do?
Well, the world is listening because we are the number 4 leadership podcast in the world. We'll brag on ourselves just a little bit. Some new rankings came out. Very grateful for all of you who tune in. We certainly want to tell you about the Rooted Experience. They sponsor our podcast. They're sponsoring today's episode. They do so much for churches. It's an incredible curriculum, and it's more than a curriculum. It really is an experience for your church. So we want you to go learn about this. You can go to experiencerooted.com/church answers. They got some free resources to help you learn more. But this is a great and sustainable way to launch groups in your church. So please click on that link in the show notes, or if you can remember it, go to experiencerooted.com/church answers. All right, Dad.
You can remember that too. Experiencerooted.com/church answers. I got it.
Yeah. And in case you don't, it's right down there in the show notes. So let's look at this major demographic shift that is occurring. It's reshaping our communities. There is a decline in mobility across the United States. It used to be that in any random community in the United States, that 1 in 4 people would move. Now, this was across the board. We're talking the 1950s, the 1960s. It was a bit of a boom post-war era, but today you would think that people move more, but they actually move far less, even with the interstate system that didn't exist as it does today. It was just getting started in the 50s and 60s. People were still moving more.
Well, they are moving more. And you know what, Sam? You are a part of a generation, at least within your family. It was 1 in 4, but it's a different 1 in 4. You were moving 1 out of every 4 years personally.
Yeah. Actually, Dad, it was more than that, because up until just recently, I had never lived in the same place more than 4 years my entire life. But now I am here in Bradenton, love it, and hope to stay. I've been here 10 years. So I'm,
amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
So let's take a deep dive into this because there are some reasons why this is occurring. On the one hand, fewer new people are moving into communities. So demographic growth is actually slower, but there's some exceptions to that. There's the Sun Belt areas, which tend to grow more rapidly than other areas of the United States. So this does have a regional, bent to it. I know in Florida, our mobility rate would be somewhat higher because of all of the influx of people coming in.
Which state is your most frequent state for coming in?
Texas, I would think.
Really? Okay. I thought it'd be more Michigan or New York or something like that.
Oh, I see what you're asking. Where are people moving from to Florida?
Yeah. In your church experience.
In my church, just in our area?
Yeah.
California, New York City, and Chicago.
Okay.
Are the big ones.
That was my experience whenever I'm at the church.
To a lesser degree, some of the more liberal Midwestern states, like
Illinois.
Illinois is Chicago, but Minnesota, And I'm not trying to make a political statement too much. We try to stay away from that on this show, but yeah, if you're talking about people moving to Florida, they tend to be moving from more liberal areas to come to.
It's a blue to red migration for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, without a doubt. Now, what's occurring is absolutely fascinating to me, Dad. And this is something that I started studying, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It never really occurred to me that people would actually be moving less than they were in the 50s and 60s and 70s. But there are some reasons for that. Two incomes is one of the reasons.
I saw your research on that, and I have to admit, now that I've seen it, it seems like duh. But I hadn't seen it till I saw your research on it. Two incomes are harder to replace, and so they're not moving as a result of that. And some of the two incomes are, it used to be maybe in a more patriarchal world that we lived in, it was 70% of the males, 30% of the female. But now incomes are very close to one another, and it could be you've got to replace 50% on one side and 50% on the other.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I even think of, my household, Erin, my wife, made the decision. She wanted to do this. She stayed at home with the kids for 16 years. So
No, Sam, your wife did not stay at home with the kids. She transported the kids everywhere as a stay-at-home mom, in theory only.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, stay-at-home mom is kind of the vernacular,
Um,
But yeah, she was never at home. She was always going to doing something. That is
exactly.
true. But here's my point. That was a decision we made. That's something that we wanted to do. We made sacrifices for that to happen. She's working now. A couple of years ago, she said, I'm going to go back into teaching. She's a first grade teacher. My wife's an amazing, amazing teacher. The reason I can say that is because she never listens to any of this stuff because she's too busy doing things. She ain't listening to this podcast. So I will compliment her. Very, very proud of her. Now, we're used to one income. My family, my home is used to that. Now that she's working, we get some tuition discount at the private school where my kids go because that's where she's teaching. So there's a significant discount there. Florida offers funding for education, both at the elementary, middle school, and high school level, and college. So my kids, if they keep their grades up, will in Florida basically go to college for free. There's some limitations there, but but by and large, education is well taken care of here. I've got 4 kids, so you add in Erin's income as a teacher, plus my income, plus all this tuition stuff going on, and all of a sudden it's like moving somewhere else. I mean, I've got it really good here, and I don't know that I would move just to move because of those reasons. So that 2 income thing is a very real factor as to why particularly the millennials and Gen Z are not moving as much.
I know, and then you add other factors, and you don't know how they're going to come into play. Other factors like debt, family ties, things of that nature, and it may tie them down even more.
Yeah, I mean, housing costs are very, very high. And this is there is a true housing crisis in the United States. We are not building enough new homes to keep pace with demand. And that's part of the reason why prices are so high. And when home prices go up, so does rent. This is something that people really feel. Inflation is an issue. It's things are just expensive. My daughter, she cut her finger at camp and had to go to the emergency room.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Which one?
We didn't
First,
tell you. We didn't tell you because you kind of freak out.
well, they're our grandchildren.
The second oldest daughter. So we took her to the emergency room, and they did not have to stitch anything. They just put a splint on it. It wasn't, it was bleeding a lot, so it was the right move. The people at the camp did the right thing. Guess what that hospital bill was? Just to put a splint on a finger and to give her some Advil.
I'm just going to speculate. $2,000.
Yeah, $4,500.
I should have speculated higher.
Yeah. And there are plenty of people that are listening to this going, absolutely. The world is expensive. Healthcare costs are high. Housing is high. You know, I can't afford. I've got two incomes to provide for my family now. I can't move. I can't move. So,
Wow.
there's a lot of implications here. What this means for your church and what it means for outreach and what it means for growth is if you reach young people, and I don't even know if I'm in that category myself anymore. I'm 45, but if you reach millennials and younger, you're likely to keep them. They just aren't moving.
I know, and I see it in your church. I see it in Jess's church, and Jess has a lot of mobility in Spring Hill, Tennessee. So it's reduced significantly. So totally agree.
And this stability can lead to deeper community connections. One of the things that I love about the Bradenton community and what I have at my church is we have connected with some other larger families. You're four kids, that used to be normal. At four kids now, people look at you like you're cross-eyed because it seems like it's such a big family. It's really not. We actually have some bigger families in our church. That community connection for us is really, really important because how do my kids get to their practices? How do we get them back and forth to places? Well, it requires friends for that to happen. And we do the same thing for our friends as well. There is a constant shuffling of children everywhere. In fact, one of the more common questions that I now ask my wife is, where are the kids? Or how many children are here now that aren't our own?
I remember that. I've been in your house, and I'd see a kid go by, and I'd say, "Is that one my grandkid?" No, that one's not my grandkid.
Listen, as a 45-year-old man with now, older girls in the house, I got to be careful. Like, I can't just walk out of the shower. Like, like, it's a very real thing in my home. Like, how many children are here that aren't my own? Like, well, there's 12 here that aren't your own. It's some ridiculous number usually. My point is that those community connections are very, very important for millennials. And part of the reason that you are seeing those community connections be they've always been important, but they've become even more important is simply because we're not moving. And if we're not moving, we hopefully are planting deeper roots. And with those roots come this constant, not sharing of children. That's probably not the right way to say it, but shuffling of children, I guess, in each
Shuffling,
other's homes.
it's a good word. And then I think about my generation. It's always fun to listen to what's going on with the millennial generation, and then Gen Y, and then after that, Gen Alpha. But my generation, we went to church for the big attraction for a good bit. Now you're going to go to church for the significant relation instead of the big attraction, because that's a lot more important than, oh, who has the coolest worship service or who has the this or that. It's really the relationship that matters. There are a lot of implications that are there, Sam.
Yes, I would completely agree with you on what's important to millennials. Now, the worship experience, still critical, still something that my generation cares about deeply. But what keeps you at a church and what causes you to stick is the fact that you have the support network that is needed. A lot of us, like myself, don't have family connections where we live. You guys are in Nashville. Aaron's parents are in Louisville. So even more important for me and for Aaron is to have that extended family that is the church. And it's not just our own generation. We're very grateful to be able to rely on those who are older, baby boomers, and some silent generation as well, although unfortunately they are getting very elderly. But we've got plenty of baby boomers in our church that are second grandparents, like a second set of grandparents to our children. And churches that can provide that for families will often see, the generational bonds begin to form and likely stay over time. So I know my kids, the way they talk, I have no idea where they're going to be. My oldest is 15, right? So that in 20 years, I have no idea where they're going to be, but they talk as if they're going to be in Bradenton. They talk as if that's where they're going to be. And if that's the case, they're just going to stay at my church. They're not going to know any different.
That's
So
going to be so. That's phenomenal to think that they would have been raised in church. And I'm thinking about when you came to that church. Joel had just been born,
yeah.
so uh, you still had very very young kids, and their memory is just going to be that church. And if they stay there through adulthood, young adult, middle adulthood, they are going to really have some sticky relational issues that would make it hard to move away.
So if millennials aren't moving and they're tending to stay in the communities where they are, and if you reach the millennial generation, their kids are not going to move around a whole lot. So those children are going to have a tendency to stay where they are raised because parents weren't moving them around a whole lot. So if you capture the millennial generation, reach those young families, disciple them, be thinking about these long-term discipleship strategies, generational discipleship strategies. Mobility rates could go back up, certainly. I guess things could change. But honestly, when I look at the housing data, and I'm not an expert, I'm not an economist, but I've done this and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So, I feel like I can comment on this. When I when I read the experts, what they are saying is that this isn't going to be resolved for quite some time, that it's going to be 10, 20, 30 years before it's truly resolved. We just simply can't build housing quickly enough. So
Even if mortgage rates go down, which they probably will, it's still going to be a challenge.
Interest rates are always in flux. Yes, they're always up and down. Hopefully they go down so more people can afford homes. That being said, invest in that long-term strategy. There is a good chance that there's a lot of young families in your church that if you reach them, you are likely to keep them, but not only keep them, keep their kids as well. So you could have grandchildren in the church. That's what I'm counting on at West Bradenton.
Yeah. Well, you've had a lot of good connections in your church. I'm thinking about one of them. You're actually having Brown look at your church.
This is why. This is why Brown Church Development Group
because
is.
it's an issue.
Yes, I am asking. So, I reached out to them. Obviously, they're a partner of ours. Call Brown Church Development Group or email them. I say call, like I'm dating myself right there. Give them a call. What I mean by that is contact them. That's probably the right term. Although I'm sure they would be happy to field a call from you.
They would. Todd Brown's told me that.
So we hired Brown Church Development Group to do our master planning process for this very reason, because I've told Todd and Isaac, father and son duo, great company there. I've told both of them, like, I don't see myself moving anywhere. God could call me, but I don't see it happening. So I want to invest here. I know our families are invested here. We want to make sure that if Jesus doesn't come back, we're prepared for the next 40, 50 years. And the whole point of the master planning process is to really give us an idea of how well we can minister to kids and keep ministering to the youngest generation. And their master planning process is best in the business. I mean, they are so good at what they do. I was actually just talking to one of our coaching clients earlier this week. They are also using Brown Church Development Group for their master planning process. So I know that this is something that they do very well. Is your facility prepared for this generational discipleship strategy? Well, Brown Church Development Group can help you with that.
They are the best. Plain and simple. They are the best.
So millennials are moving less than Gen X. Millennials are moving less than boomers. There are a lot of implications for your church. This dispels the myth. The data is in, and it's been in for quite some time. Young people just don't move a whole lot. It's because of rising housing costs, tighter job markets, student loan burdens, dual income homes. I mean, there's lots of reasons why. So this is good news and bad news. I mean, it's good news in the sense that if you reach them, you're likely to keep them. It's bad news in that a lot of communities aren't seeing the influx of people like they used to. But regardless, your church can reach the next generation. One way to do this is with Upward. Upward. I know you like the pickleball thing.
I like pickleball because they offer free net sets. And so I can say pickleball and net sets.
You read the copy. I mean, there's producer. Thank you, Alana. She does a good job of putting the copy right where it needs to be. And you read the copy, and sometimes you're like, how's that going to sound when that comes out of my mouth? But yes, they are offering 2 free net sets while
Net
supplies
or pickleball.
supplies last. That just rolls off the tongue. How do you claim these free net sets? Well, go to upward.org/pickleball. It is time to start preparing for 2026, start the budgeting process. And if you're like, pickleball, well, that sounds great, but do they have anything else? Of course they do. They have a variety of sports.
Wide range of sports, unbelievably wide range.
So basketball, cheerleading, soccer, flag football, volleyball, baseball, running. They've got a new running app
Which
that is
requires
amazing.
one dedicated person if you do the running one.
So upward.org/church answers is where you can go. Click that link in the show notes. And while you are down there in the show notes, give us a thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, certainly rate, review, and subscribe in your favorite podcasting app. And we'll have another episode coming to you shortly. We'll be with you then.